Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. I am Louis J. Belomo from Group 5, and I'm here to report what are the laws and regulations of biotechnology. So let's begin with what is biotechnology. So in short, the biotechnology is the combination of biology and technology to create innovation that benefits humans and nature, or the humankind or the human welfare. So what is regulation? So the regulation is to ensure the biosafety and promote ethical practices and protect the environment from potential risks of biotechnology. So in this regulation is national regulation to ensure that biosafety is promote para malikayan ang mga potential risks gikan sa biotechnology applications. So next slide is I'll discuss the legal framework. So let's begin with the Republic Act number 2067, also known as the Science Act of 1958. This law established the National Science Development Board or NSDP to promote scientific research and technological advancement in the Philippines. So here it aims to develop science technology as essential tools for national progress. Created the NSDP, also part ng sa DOST, to coordinate and fund research activities. So this Republic Act is sila fund sa mga gatag o mga budget or funds sa research activities. It encouraged the scientific education, research, and innovation, and strengthen the country's development. Here is Executive Order number 430, issued in October 1990. This order created the National Committee on Biosafety of the Philippines, also known as NCBP, established by the NCBP to oversee biosafety policies and guidelines for biotechnology research and development, and it ensures the biotech activities are conducted safely and responsibly. So this Executive Order 430 is to ensure that the biotech activities are undergo with the safetyness and responsible. This promotes the environmental protection, health safety, and ethical scientific practices in biotechnology. The Department of Agriculture Administrative Order number 8 series of 2002. This order provides the rules and regulation for the importations and the release of GMOs, plants and plant products in the Philippines. So the main point here is to ensure the GMO safety assessment before approval. Department of Agriculture Administrative Order number 8 is to ensure that the GMOs mag-undergo pa sila og safetyness or approvalness, ensure pa sila og safetyness before sila ma-approve. So it also aims to promote human health, animal welfare, and the environment. Establishes the procedures for risk assessment, field testing, and commercialization of biotech products. This order is it also kaning gahatag po sila mga risk assessments, field testing, and kaning commercialization or promotion of biotech crops. So it is implemented under the DA or Department of Agriculture. Next slide is the Republic Act number 10068, also known as Organic Agriculture Act of 2010. So nalabyan naman nato yung topic before kato pa ng second year for SEM. So this law is to promote, develop, and implement organic agriculture in the Philippines. So this Republic Act is focus lang siya dito sa mga organic practices than synthetic and chemical things or practices. So this Republic Act is to encourage the use of natural and sustainable farming methods. So, kani jud siya is focus lang jud siya sa organic and prohibits the use of GMOs in organic farming. And it aims to protect the environment, farmers' health, and consumers' welfare. So, we all know that if magkuan ta organic agriculture, organic practices, atong soil is malikay siya sa mga degraded things like atong mga synthetic is ma-degrade atong kuan soil, mga microorganisms. But here in organic agriculture is they promote the soil health or not soil health or not just soil health but also the farmer's health and consumers welfare. So they created the National Organic Agriculture Program. This program is kaning mga farmer is mga farmer will be influenced by the use of organic practices by the help of this Republic Act or kaning organic programs. So next is the Republic Act number 10661, also known as Food Safety Act of 2013. This law strengthens the food safety regulatory systems in the Philippines to protect the consumer's health. Ensures that the food from production to consumption is safe and of good quality. So this Republic Act is to ensure from the production na safety siya pag-produce, pag-process to the consumers, and the consumers will benefitly or kaning makatabang sila na this product na ginakaon is healthy and give them satisfaction. And assigned by the Department of Agriculture or DA and Department of DOH as lead agencies for food safety. So that with the combination of DA and DOH, they are the lead of agencies of the safetyness from production to consumers quality sa alang pagkaon or mga production. And it also aims to protect the consumers, promote fair trade, and support public health. Next slide. So here I will discuss the key regulatory bodies. So first is the Department of Science and Technology, also known as DOST. This agency, DOST, it acts as the primary agency. So sila lead towards the technology policy in the Philippines, oversees research, development, and innovation in biotechnology, implements program for biosafety, ethical standards, and capacity building. Capacity building to make the research grow for the benefit of the environment and humankind. So coordinates with coordinate po sila sa uban na agency, di lang isla ang promote or buhat sa mga research, ethical standards, and biosafety, and they are responsible also for biotech applications. Next is the Department of Agriculture. This agency regulates the biotechnology application in agriculture, including GM products and livestock. It also ensures the biosafety, environmental protection, and food safety in agricultural biotech products. Issues permits, guidelines, and monitoring protocols for the research, field trials, and commercialization. This agency is gatag po sila og mga protocols sa mga research, field trials, and commercialization para kaning kuan po siya, kaning safety po siya sa uban, sa environment, or sa tuang. And it also support farmers and stakeholders in adopting safe and sustainable biotech innovations. Next is the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, also known as DNNR. The role of this agency towards the biotech is to ensure that the biotechnology activities comply with environmental laws. So dapat ang kaning mga biotech mga biotechnology activities is comply sila or musunod sila sa rules gikan sa DENR or the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources. So, assessments and monitors the environmental impact of GMOs and other biotech applications. It also implements programs for biodiversity conservation and ecosystem protection. So, kaning DNR is gina-ensure po nila kaning biotech is dili sila makaharm katong sa mga organisms, which is kaning katong organism is balance ilang biodiversity. Dapat dili sila mo harm ato or mohatag risk ang kaning mga biotech. So that's why musunod sila sa rules and regulatories sa DNR. Magkuan po sa kaning coordinate po sa with other agencies to promote safetyness and sustainable. So next is the DOH. This agency is to ensure the safety and biotechnology-derived products for human health, including food, drug, and vaccines. So in this DOH is nag-focus po siya sa human health, that basig kaning ato ang mga biotech products is nag-apply sila o gikan sa sa mga foods, drugs, and vaccines. They also conduct risk assessments, monitoring, and evaluation of biotech products before approval. So mag-undergo pa sila assessments para ma-approve sila ang mga biotech products. And it also develops the guidelines and standards for the use of biotechnology in healthcare, coordinates with other agencies to protect public health and consumer safety. Next is the National Committee in Biosafety of the Philippines. The role of this agency is to serve as the primary advisory body on biosafety for the biotechnology application in the Philippines. So kanina agency is sila ang the leading agency that promotes the biosafety towards the biotechnology applications sa diri sa Philippines, formulates the policies, guidelines, and standards to ensure the safe of GMOs. So and also coordinates with the government agencies to assess the risk, monitoring, compliance, and promote ethical biotech practices. It also protects the human health and animal welfare and other sustainable things. So here, I will discuss what are the key guidelines and procedures. First, the risk assessments. So, ang risk assessments towards sa biotechs is to evaluate pa nila ang mga potential na hazards of kaning GMOs or biotech products before approval. So, in short is dapat ma-undergo ba sila o ganing unsabay potential na hazard aning GMO na makadawat sa tuwa or mga biotech products, para kung mabala nila na kani siya harmful ni siya sa environment or sa tuwa, dili na to siya i-approve. So dapat mag-undergo pa siya sa risk assessment. Second is containment measures. Apply the physical, chemical, and biological containment in laboratories, greenhouse, and field trials. So magi pa siya sa mga physical, chemical, and biological containments in laboratories in order for kaning ma-attain pod ang kaning biosafety. Okay. Number 3 is permit and approval system. Obtain clearances from regulatory agencies kaning DA, DNR, DOH, and NCBF before release or commercialization. So dapat ma-undergo pa sila sa kaning mga agencies para ma-import sila or ma-commercialize sa uban or sa tuwa. Monitoring and reporting. The conduct continuous monitoring of biotech activities and report any adverse effects. Saan niya? Conduct continuous monitoring of biotech. Dapat in this monitoring and reporting is continuous ilang pag-monitor sa biotech activities and report any adverse effects para ma-aware ang mga katauhan unsay may tabo aning biotech products. Next is training and capacity building. Ensures personnel are properly trained in biosafety practices and emergency procedures. So dapat jud siya mo undergo aning mga personnel or mga trabahante what are the biosafety practices and emergency procedures in case maunsa sila sa pagkuan maunsa sila sa kaning biotech products kabalan sila unsay buhaton o unsa pay kabalo sila unsay angay na dili buhaton. Next is the public awareness and consultation. Inform and consult stakeholders about application to promote transparency and acceptance. So, gi-inform ang mga katauhan o magkonsulta sila about the biotech applications to promote transparency and acceptance. So next is compliance and enforcement. Regulatory bodies inspect, audit, and enforce penalties for non-compliance with biosafety rules. So here I will discuss the recent developments. Joint Department Circular Number 1 Series of 2016 and Unified Guidelines for Biotech Regulation involving DA, DOST, DOH, DNR, and DILG. Next is strengthening of biosafety committees and capacity building programs. And third is promote of safety biotechnology for food security and climate resilience. So here I will discuss the International Biotechnology Regulation. So here in the US, ang regulation focus on the final products trace and safety. This method production is less important. Product judged by the substantial equivalence to conventional counterparts. Encourages innovation, rapid approval, and market access. So there is process page sa UE. Regulation focuses on the process used to develop product. So sa US kay sila kaning focuses sa final product. Here in UE is focus sila sa process used to develop product. Any genetic modification triggers GMO legislation regardless of outcome. Applies the precautionary principle, prioritize safety and environment. In this UE na process-based and requires extensive risk assessments, labeling, and traceability. So in this this process sa UE is grabe siya ka-crucial kay apply sila extensive risk assessment para pod kaning secure pod kaayo ilang kaning biotech products. Overseen by the European Food Safety Authority or EFSA. International Guidance Codex Alimentarius. Codex Alimentarius are developed by FAO, the Food and Organic Agriculture Organization, and WHO, World Health Organization. And here is the codex provides international food standards, guidelines, and codes of practice. This aims to protect the consumer's health and ensure fair trade in food globally. So in this Codex Alimentarius is with the combination of FAO and the WHO. They also promote the standards, the guidelines, and codes of practices to protect ang mga katawan sila mga consumer's health and ensures the fair trade ikan sa gawas, importation, and exportation. Next is in biotechnology, it offers guidelines for safety assessment of foods derived from modern biotechnology or GMOs. It also focuses also focus in allergenicity. Allergenicity. So allergenicity, the potential of a substance such as a protein in a GMO to cause an allergic reaction in sensitive individuals. Toxicity, the ability of a substance to cause harmful or poisonous effects to humans, animals, or the environment. The nutritional equivalence, the comparison of the nutrient content, is especially to those vitamins, minerals, proteins, fats, and other things of a biotech food to its traditional counterpart to ensure the nutritional value. Unintended effects. So here, unexpected changes in composition or characteristics of a GMOs that may occur due to the genetic modification process. Here, the OECD, also known as Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This OECD is to provide scientific frameworks and tools for biotechnology risk assessment. It publishes also consensus documents describing the biology, composition, and traits of plants, animals, and microbes used in biotech. It also aims to harmonize the data requirements among the countries to reduce the duplication in safety testing. It also supports the regulatory cooperation and mutual recognition of safety assessments. So here, I'll discuss the standard global rule. So gikan siya sa sa globalized na mga rules. So first, risk assessment sa standard global definition is risk assessment is the scientific process to evaluate the potential risk that the biotechnology products such as GMO may pose to human health, animal safety, and environment. What are the key steps here? So, pinakauna is hazard identification. Ilang first is determine nila what could cause harm in this kuan. It may be toxicity or allergenicity. Itong discuss na ko before. So, next is exposure assessment. Estimate how much and how often humans, animals, or ecosystem may be exposed. Next is risk characterization. Combine hazard and exposure information to estimate overall risk. Next is risk management. They develop strategies to reduce or control the identified risk. So, here na mga risk management para ma-reduce na mga risk na mahitabo. Biosafety evaluation. In here, what is the definition of biosafety evaluation? So, it is the systematic evaluation of GMOs or biotech products to ensure they can be used safely without harming the human health, animals, or environment. So in this definition is it ensures or undergo first the safetyness of GMOs or biotech products towards to the human health, animals, and environment without harming or getting potential risks for them. So the key components: environmental assessment, evaluate the potential impacts on ecosystems, biodiversity, and non-target organisms. Containment measure determines how GMO should be handled, stored, and transported to prevent accidental release. Next is monitoring and management. Plan for post-release observation and risk mitigation. So, ga-evaluate pa Japan sila whether those mga GMOs or biotech organism or other things is mag-observe sila from post-release and risk mitigation in order for their equilibrium balanceness. And regulatory compliance. Ensure alignment with international framework like Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety Codex Alimentarius and OECD guidelines. GMO labeling. Here I will discuss the GMO labeling sa different countries. First is United States. Governed by the National Bioengineered Food Disclosure Standard, mandatory labeling only for foods that are bioengineered. So they only focuses only the bioengineered, contain detectable modified genetic material. Threshold exempt if GMO content is below 5% due to advantageous presence. Labeling method include the text, symbol, or QR code. So ilang inapil is text, symbol, or QR code lang ilang pang labeling. So the processed ingredients like oils or sugars may be exempt of no detectable GM material remains. So sugar or oils, they will be exempt if no detectable GM material remains. So here the country of European Union, all GMOs in food or fed above 0.9 must be labeled as GMO. So in this case, dapat 0.9 above malabel siya og GMO diri sa European. Includes the processed, unprocessed, and derivative products like corn, syrup, soy, lecithin, and that. And it also requires the traceability through the supply chain and strict enforcement fines or non-compliance emphasize the consumer choice. So in Canada, non-mandatory GMO labeling is unless the product has significant changes in nutritional value or allergenicity. GM foods are considered substantially equivalent to conventional foods unless differences exist. Here in Australia, New Zealand, let's skip this part. Australia, New Zealand, hindi siya makita sa PPT. So here, I will discuss the international convention affecting biotechnology. First, Convention on Biological Diversity. The Convention on Biological Diversity is an international treaty adopted at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. Its main goal is to promote sustainable development and ensure the conservation and responsible use of biological diversity on Earth. Next is entered into force in December 29, 1993. The parties, nearly all the countries in the world, are members, except a few, including apil nito ang United States, which has signed but not ratified. Governing body, the Conference of the Parties, or COP, oversees the implementation. The CBD serves as a global framework for actions to promote biodiversity, promote sustainable use of natural resources, and ensure fair sharing of genetic resource benefits. Main objectives: conservation of biological diversity, protecting life at all levels, ecosystems, species, and genetic resources. Next is the sustainable use of its components, ensuring that the use of biodiversity is maintained for future generations. Fair and equitable sharing of benefits, distributing the benefits that arise from the use of genetic resources. The highlights are near universal membership. The CBD has been ratified by 196 parties, countries, and regulation economic integration, organizations like the EU or the European, and with the United States being the lone holdout among the UN member states. In national implementation, the convention obligates parties to develop national strategies, plans, and programs to integrate the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity into the relevant sectoral or cross-sectoral plans, programs, and policies. The global framework, the Conference of the Parties (COP), the CBD's governing bodies meets regularly to review the progress at COP15 in December 2022. The coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was adopted, providing a universal blueprint to halt and reverse biodiversity loss, with species targets to be achieved by 2030, such as conserving 30% land and water globally. So mag-convert pa sila og 30% with the land and help of water to achieve the goal in 2030. Highlight is also known as the protocols. There are two implementary legally binding agreements have been adopted under the CBD framework to address the specific issue. First is the Cartagena Protocol in Biosafety 2000 and the Nagoya Protocol on access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization. Here, I will discuss the Cartagena Protocol on Diversity in 2000. Introduction in January 29, 2000, the Conference of the Parties of the Convention on Biological Diversity adopted a supplementary agreement to the convention known as the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. The protocol seeks to protect the biological diversity from the potential risks posed by living modified organisms resulting from the modern biotechnology. Establish an advanced informed agreement procedure for ensuring that the countries are provided with the information necessary to make informed decisions before agreeing that the import of such organisms into their territory. The protocol refers to a precautionary approach and reaffirms the precaution language in Principle 15 of the Rio Declaration of Environment and Development. And the protocol also established a biosafety clearinghouse to facilitate the exchange of on living modified organisms and to assist the countries in the additional information. And this protocol was adopted on January 29, 2000 in Cartagena, Colombia. Entered into force in September 11, 2003. Linked to the CBD or the Convention on Biological Diversity. The objective to this protocol is to contribute or to ensure an adequate level of protection in the safe transfer and handling of use of living modified organisms result from modern biotechnology that may adverse effects on the conservation and sustainable use of biological diversity, taking also into risk to human health. Additional highlight: Advanced Informed Agreement or IAI procedure. requires exports to obtain the consent of importing countries before the first international transboundary movement of LMOs intended for introduction into the environment. So, in here, dapat mangayap pa sila consent before importing into the countries. The Biosafety Clearinghouse, or BCH, an online platform that facilitates information exchange about LMOs and national biosafety regulation among the countries, risk assessment and risk management, establish scientific methods to assess and manage risks posed by LMOs to, to biodiversity and human health. Labeling and documentation mandates clearing labeling of shipments containing LMOs for food, feed, or processes. Precautionary principle allows countries to restrict the import of LMOs, GMOs, even in cases of scientific uncertainty about potential risks. Conclusion about the Cartagena Protocol. This Cartagena Protocol is a cornerstone of international biosafety law. So it is a cornerstone to the international biosafety with the law. It balances the potential benefits of biotechnology like improved crops and medicine with the need to protect ecosystem, biodiversity, and human health from possible adverse effects. So it also benefits like the crops and medicine, improve, etc. with the need to protect the the environment or the ecosystem and also the human health from mga possible effects toward the biotechnology or other things. Here, I will discuss upon the Nagoya Protocol. It is a fair and equitable sharing of genetic resources. Assess benefit sharing ABS under the Convention on Biological Diversity. So the background of this Nagoya Protocol, it is adopted in October 2010 in Nagoya, Japan. It entered into the force on October 12, 2014. Supplementary agreement to the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD. So the purpose on this is implements the CBD's third objective. It defines as the fair, and equitable sharing of benefits from genetic resources, and also promotes the biodiversity, conservation, sustainable use, and technology transfer. The key concept of this Nagoya is genetic resources. It means that biological materials such as plant materials and microorganisms with hereditary units. Next is the access and benefit sharing, or ABS. Regulates access and ensure equitable benefit sharing, so equal, walay maro-maro. So it is equal share that benefits to the environment or the individuals. Traditional knowledge, indigenous and local community knowledge tied to genetic resources. So with the help of indigenous and local community knowledge to these genetic resources. So the core principles. Prior informed concept or PIC. Permission required before accessing genetic resources. So it is required that permission must be abundance to this assessing the genetic resources under this prior informed consent. Next is mutually agreed terms, or MAT, fair negotiation with the individuals towards the benefits and conditions. So the benefit sharing, on this this Nagoya is monetary. Like first is benefit sharing is first is monetary, which means that the royalty fees and research funding. Next is non-monetary, technology transfer, training, and capacity building. Next, so here I will discuss this illustration. So here the provider contra A nagkontain siya og genetic resources. So mangayop ba siya permit dire makita nato diri sa padulong siya sa user B may siya permit. So from permit A ug B na siya sa checkpoint. So this checkpoint means that they will investigate or assessment of this mga products. So from permit A B maabot na sa ABS clearinghouse, which means the monitoring compliance. So in this ABS clearinghouse, this ensures that the product or the derived resources kaning must be equalized or kaning benefit towards to those mga organization ang kinsa tay mag-contribute is maka-benefit sila ug matarok and equalize. So next, implementation measures. Establish national ABS frameworks and checkpoints to track compliance. Designated national focal points and competent authorities. Community involvement. Indigenous people and local communities must give prior consent. So, ang indigenous and local is dapat maghatag og prior consent. Their traditional knowledge is recognized and protected. So, their knowledge will be recognized and protected and they share in the benefits arise from resource utilization. They share pa yung mga benefits. Next is monitoring and enforcement. Governments ensure compliance through reporting and checkpoints. Encourage transparency and responsible research practices. So, gidiscuss ako ganina itong checkpoints is ang government sila ang mo-ensure og compliance and reporting toward to those checkpoints para ma-equalize equalize or fair ang pag-share sa ato na product towards to the mga consumers or organizations. So what are the challenges on this? The challenges are low awareness and administrative complexity. So dili ka sila aware, then ang administrative is grabe ka complex, daghan kaayog kaning libog, grabe sila kalibog, and weak enforcement and capacity gaps. And next, balancing commercial use with biodiversity conservation. So the global impact on this are promotes ethical, transparent biodiversity use, strengthens international cooperation, supports innovation and equitable partnerships, contributes to UN SDGs, Goal 15 Life on Land, and Goal 17 Partnership for the Goals. A summary of this Nagoya is the summary of this is to ensure the fairness, equity, and sustainability in genetic resource use, fosters collaboration among the countries and communities, reinforce the biodiversity conservation and global responsibility. So, naraday yung mga references, gikan siya sa CBD or Convention on Biological Diversity in 1992, Nagoya Protocol 2010, and UNEP reports. Next, WTO agreements related to biotechnology. though WTO is World Trade Organization, focus on SPS and TBT agreements. So I will discuss here the SPS and TBT. What are those means? So the World Trade Organization agreements and biotechnological trades. So this means that the World Trade Organization sets global trade rules. So ang WTO or World Trade Organization is lang ang support or regulate sa mga rules, while the biotechnology or the GMOs is regulated to protect health and ensures fair trade. So ang biotech, the rule is to ensure or regulate to protect health and ensure ang fair trade. Two key agreements affect the biotech trade. First is SPS, sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Second is TBT, technical barriers to trade. So I will explain what are those means. So SPS, ilang purpose is to protect human, animal, and plant for life or life. The relevance to biotech is to cover GMO crops, food, and feed safety. The key principle must be science-based and unjustified barriers. Here, next is TBT. The purpose of TBT is to ensure the technical rules and labeling do not restrict the trade. And the relevance to the biotech and then the relevance to biotech is covers labeling, packaging, and standards for biotech products. The key principle must be transparent and non-discriminatory. I think that's my report. Thank you for listening. I hope you understand, even though the environment is such a kind of libog. Thank you and God bless.